Did you know the Leviathan wasn't the most terrifying monster in the Bible? Everyone talks about this fire-breathing sea dragon that churned the oceans and terrified sailors. But Leviathan wasn't alone. The Bible and ancient Jewish tradition described three primal beasts, each one ruling a different part of creation. On the land there was Behemoth, an enormous beast with bones like iron and muscles like cables, a symbol of raw, unstoppable strength. In the sea, Leviathan thrashed, a serpent so powerful that no weapon could pierce its scales. But in the sky, there was Ziz, a monstrous bird so massive its wings could block out the sun. It was said that when Ziz stretched its wings, storms would rise and the earth would be covered in shadow. Together, these three weren't just animals. They were forces of chaos, reminders that no matter how powerful the world's creatures seemed, they were nothing compared to God. And according to legend, in the end times, Behemoth, Leviathan, and Ziz would all be defeated. Did you know there's a demon so feared that even Lucifer himself wouldn't dare cross him? In ancient Jewish and Christian writings, he's called Abaden, or in Greek, Apollyon, meaning the destroyer. He's not a fallen angel like Lucifer. In fact, his authority doesn't come from rebellion at all. It comes directly from God. That's what makes him so terrifying. The book of Revelation says Abaden is the king of the bottomless pit, the abyss where the most dangerous spirits are kept. When the end times come, he will be released, leading an army of supernatural locusts with the power to torment anyone who doesn't have God's seal. These creatures aren't here to tempt or trick. They exist only to inflict pain and carry out judgment. Some scholars believe Lucifer fears Abaden because their roles are completely different. Lucifer is a deceiver, trying to lead souls astray, but Abaden is an executioner whose only mission is destruction and whose orders come from the throne of heaven itself. This is what would happen if you saw a seraphim angel. In the Bible, seraphim are described as fiery, burning beings with 6 wings. 2 cover their faces because even they cannot look directly at God. 2 cover their feet as a sign of humility. And with the last 2, they fly. When the prophet Isaiah saw them, the whole vision was overwhelming. He said the seraphim cried out with voices so powerful that the ground shook and smoke filled the temple like a storm. They shouted, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty," and the sound felt like it could tear the building apart. Isaiah didn't feel blessed in that moment. He felt doomed. Just seeing such holy beings made him realize how sinful and unworthy he was. He thought he was about to die. But instead of destroying him, one of the seraphim flew down with a burning coal, touched his lips, and said his guilt was taken away. So if you ever stood in the presence of a seraphim, it wouldn't just be light and beauty, it would be terror, fire, and it could transform you forever. Did you know the Bible says Jesus already went to hell? This part of his story is often skipped, but it's one of the most mysterious. After Jesus died on the cross, the Gospel of Peter tells us his body lay in the tomb, but his spirit descended into the realm of the dead, sometimes called Hades. In 1 Peter 3:19, it says he preached to the spirits in prison. Early Christians believed this wasn't weakness, but victory. Jesus entered the very place of death, not as a captive, but as a king. Some traditions say he announced salvation to the righteous who had died before him, like Abraham, David, and the prophets, leading them out of the shadowy underworld into God's presence. Others say it was a message of defeat to dark spirits and fallen angels, showing that their rule was broken forever. This event is sometimes called the harrowing of hell, a moment where Jesus shattered the gates of death from the inside. So before the resurrection morning, there was already a great victory in the unseen world. This king was so powerful, even demons had to obey him. His name was Solomon. The Bible calls him the wisest man who ever lived, and God gave him a special ring, a seal that allowed him to control spirits and demons. With this ring, Solomon commanded supernatural beings to build great cities, massive structures, and the legendary temple in Jerusalem. Nothing seemed impossible for him, but power came with danger. Some spirits resisted or tried to deceive him, and Solomon had to use incredible wisdom to keep control. Over time, though, his heart began to turn. Despite his unmatched knowledge and the blessings God gave him, Solomon married women from foreign nations who led him into idolatry. He started worshiping other gods, building shrines for them, and ignoring the very commandments that gave him his strength. In the end, the same power that allowed him to command demons couldn't save him from pride and temptation. He was a king who ruled men and spirits, but even he could not escape the consequences of turning away from God. These are the 4 horse riders who appear at the day of the final judgment. In the book of Revelation, John sees a vision of a scroll sealed with 7 seals. As each of the first 4 seals is opened, a rider emerges, each one bringing a force of destruction upon the earth. The first rider comes on a white horse, carrying a bow and wearing a crown. Some say he represents conquest, the spreading of empires, or even false peace that hides deception. The second rider appears on a fiery red horse holding a great sword. He takes peace from the earth, stirring war, violence, and bloodshed among nations and neighbors. The third rides a black horse, holding scales in his hand. His presence signals famine. Food measured by weight, prices rising so high that a full day's work can barely feed one person. And then the final rider arrives on a pale, sickly horse. His name is Death, and Hades follows behind him. Together they bring plague, hunger, and destruction over a fourth of the earth. These riders mark the beginning of the end. Have you ever heard of a man so strong that nations feared his name? That man was Samson. From birth, he was set apart as a Nazirite. No wine, no unclean food, never cutting his hair. His strength came directly from God, and it wasn't just strength, it was unstoppable power. One day he killed a roaring lion with his bare hands. Another time, the Philistines came at him with 1,000 soldiers. Without a sword, he grabbed the jawbone of a donkey, and every one of them fell. He once ripped the gates of a city from the ground and carried them uphill. The Philistines didn't just want to defeat Samson, they wanted to erase his name, but they couldn't match his strength, so they used deception. Through Delilah, they cut his hair, breaking his vow, and his strength left him. Captured, blinded, and mocked, it seemed his story was over. In his final moments, Samson prayed, "God, strengthen me one last time." Standing between the pillars of the Philistine temple, he pushed with all his might. The building collapsed, crushing thousands, including their leaders.
Have you ever wondered what really happened the night Lucifer fell from heaven? Before he was Satan, Lucifer was the most radiant of all God's angels. The Bible says he was perfect in beauty, covered in precious stones, and his voice was like music itself. He stood near God's throne, a guardian of light. But beauty turned to pride. He didn't just want to serve, he wanted to be God. Isaiah writes that Lucifer said in his heart, "I will ascend above the stars. I will make myself like the Most High." That pride sparked the first rebellion in history. Revelation tells us Michael and his angels rose up against Lucifer and the angels who sided with him. The war wasn't fought with swords, it was a clash of divine power, a battle that shook the heavens. Lucifer lost. In an instant, God's judgment came. 1/3 of heaven's angels were cast out with him, stripped of their glory, becoming the demons that now roam the earth.
The angel who watches over the Leviathan. In ancient Jewish tradition, the Leviathan is a colossal serpent of the sea, said to be so huge that the ocean itself trembles when it moves. The book of Job describes its armor-like scales, its unyielding strength, and the impossibility of defeating it by human hands. But here's the part most people don't know. According to the Talmud and Midrash, God didn't just create the Leviathan, he assigned an angel to watch over it. This angel is sometimes called Rahab, a powerful being tasked with making sure the Leviathan stays in the depths until the appointed time. Without this guardian, the beast could rise, unleashing chaos on the world. Some traditions even say God created 2 Leviathans, one male, one female, but destroyed the female to prevent them from multiplying. The surviving Leviathan is being kept alive for a reason. In the end times, it will be slain and served at a great banquet for the righteous.
What happened in heaven the moment Jesus got crucified? As Jesus breathed his last, the veil in the temple tore from top to bottom, God himself removing the barrier between him and humanity. On earth, it was chaos. Darkness covered the land, the ground shook, and graves opened. But in heaven, it was a moment of cosmic victory. For thousands of years, angels had watched the story of salvation unfold. Starting all the way back in Eden, they had seen mankind fall and they had seen Satan claim the earth as his. But now at the cross, the price was paid. Sin's grip was broken. Revelation speaks of a loud voice in heaven declaring, "Now salvation has come, the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ." The hosts of heaven knew what this meant. Satan's defeat was sealed. His accusations against God's people had lost their power, and in that instant the armies of heaven raised their swords in triumph, not for battle, but to honor the Lamb who had conquered.